Hey everybody, how's it going? It is Mike from Mike's Garage, and today I have another good video for you. Very exciting video, something I'm pretty pumped to make a video about. So before we jump into it, while you're here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Hitting the bell is going to give you all the notifications for the channel, upcoming video events, different things like that. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at firetruck mechanic. It brings you in the day of the life of a fire truck mechanic. That's what I do all day in and day out. So we're going to jump into the video, and today's video is about an F1 class I was recently at. I'm going to let you know what to expect when you're at your F1 class and what it's mostly all about. Now, this isn't going to be a full study guide video, although I'm going to give you a lot of pointers, and a lot of the questions were mostly about the same stuff. So with what I'm about to tell you, you will do a very good job, but there's a lot of studying that you're going to have to do before you get to the class and different things like that. So this video is mostly for my fire truck mechanics and my ambulance mechanics, because your F1 and E1 or E0 I believe, are basically the same test. There's just a few different questions that pertain to ambulances. I know the ambulance one is a little more electrical too. So we're going to jump right into it. So I'm excited. This one's got me ready to go. So let's just jump right into this. One of the biggest things to know about your upcoming class, if you're taking an F1 class, there is so much information you're going to need to know within these 3 days that it's insane. There's just so much stuff. I have my whiteboard right here. I kind of wrote down a few things of different stuff that you're going to need to know. There's a lot of out-of-service criteria. There's a lot of different things that are minimum and maximum specs, like a drive shaft. You need to know the variation of a drive shaft, your kingpin, your different things like that. I know it does sound to be a lot, but I promise you're going to go over it so many times in this class that when you see it in the test, it's just going to come natural to you. You're just going to know what it is that you need to know for the test. My instructor basically told me like this. He's explaining it to you enough so that when you see it on the test, you're going to know about where the right answer is. You're going to know that, I don't want to get too deep into this one because it's going to give my next ones away, but that's basically what he said to us. You know, he's going to give you enough information, so hopefully you know and remember it, but at least you're going to go over it so many times that when you see it on the test, you will know that's the right answer, because I know these three are wrong. So that's number one. Alright guys, for my next one, some of your information you need to know for your F1 contradict real world things. Things you're doing in the shop that you know are unsafe for a vehicle. Your F1 out of your book 1911, so 1911 is the book that tells you whether a service truck or a different fire truck could be in or out of service. So some of the things are absolutely going to contradict themselves. If you've taken a recent ASE T5 for the steering and suspension like I have, it says to grease your kingpins with the vehicle on the ground. F1 wants you to grease them in the air. I don't really care how you do it either way. Another one is your sidewall. F1 is going to tell you your sidewall on your tire can have a rip in it, and you can have a gap in your sidewall. F1 says that is okay. It needs to be written up with a recommendation. And I also know that some of your F1 and F2 electrical questions contradict themselves within the parameters of minimum and maximum specifications. So that's definitely the next thing you need to know. Number 3, your biggest thing, one of your biggest things you're going to need to know are your classifications of leaks. You have 3 different classifications of leaks. Class 1 leak is going to be a damp, we're talking about an oil leak or different things like that. Class 1 leak is going to be a damp area around the surface. So let's say your oil pan is leaking. If it is damp enough to collect dirt, that is a Class 1 leak. A Class 2 leak is where it's wet enough to form a drop. So you have a droplet around the oil pan gasket, although it has yet to be fallen, you have a droplet there that is a Class 2 leak. And a Class 3 leak is where your droplet is falling. So something that is continuously pouring out. Something I remember vividly from the class, your fuel system can have a Class 2 leak and be taken out of service. So you can't have more than a drop coming out. I know in the real world, if I see something leaking around an injector line or an injector pump or fuel filter or different things like that, I'm fixing that. The truck's out of service until I can get the right part, because I need to know that my men and women that I put in that truck are going to come home safe. That's my biggest thing, is I know that my firefighters are safe, they're getting to the scene safely, different things like that. Your oil leaks or your axle seal leaks, some aerial leaks, there's some that can be class 3. When you get into your 1911 book, take time. Take a lot of time and read chapter 6. All of your chapter 6 is going to be out of service criteria. I'm going to get into that in a minute, but that is definitely a big one, is class of leaks, because all those are out of service according to chapter 6 out of service criteria. Alright, and for the next one, I want to say these tests are written a lot like ASE tests, where the questions are going to try to confuse you, except for your EVT, your F1. In the back of the 1911 book, you have all your different definitions. I'm going to give you two of the most common, shall and should. Shall means it needs to be done. Should means it's recommended to be done, basically. So those are going to be put into your different questions to try to confuse you, to try to get them wrong. Because there could be something that needs to be taken out of service, but it would say should in front of the question. Let's say your engine has a class 3 leak. At a class 3 leak in your engine bay, the vehicle needs to be taken out of service. Well, it shall be taken out of service, not should. So there's different ways where they're going to try to confuse you, just like the ASE test. So take some time, look in the back of your 1911 book. You can get them online, you can basically get them anywhere. Really, if you're taking an EVT F1 class, your work probably should provide those to you, especially if you're a fire truck mechanic or an ambulance mechanic. I don't care what you have to do to get one and keep it in your toolbox. Recently, when I got back to work, I had to re-reference in that book about a steering component that actually downed the truck. And I was able to back it up because I said, here it is in chapter 6, 3.1, number 6. Alright, and I just remember that. Just I just got back from the class and I had to look it up yesterday. That, I showed it to my boss, here it is clear as day. It has to be taken out of service. It was something about steering and suspension being loose. If you recently looked at my Instagram, you'll see the U-bolts on the leaf springs were rather loose and the leaf springs were starting to sag. It was, I wouldn't say it was an argument or anything, but it's something that needed to be taken out of service. And I said, here it is. It needs to be taken out of service. It needs to go to get repaired. And you're able to cover yourself if you can write that in your ROs too. Say, look, here it is right here. Just write down the article number, the chapter number, whatever it is, and you'll be able to cover yourself. Alright everybody, and for my final one, out of service criteria. Your out of service criteria is the biggest thing you're going to go over in this class. In the test, in anything. Chapter 6, you're going to want to know from front to back, from back to front. I'm not kidding, this is probably 50% of the questions is out of service criteria. All the other stuff is things you do day in and day out. So out of service criteria being, like I explained earlier, the cut in the sidewall would be out of service criteria. But it's not out of service because the cut, I don't know why. F1, the 1911 book is absolutely insane to me. There's a lot of things that, like I said earlier, it's going to contradict what you do day in and day out. But if there's a cut in the sidewall, it doesn't need to be replaced, it needs to be written up. So a question in the test is going to ask you, does it need to be replaced? Well, no, technically it doesn't. It just needs to be written up. A class 3 leak on an engine, a class 3 leak on an axle, a class 2 leak on a fuel line, different things like that. You're going to really want to know your out of service criteria. But that is it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. For all my fire truck friends, all my ambulance friends, I know I have a lot of you on Instagram. We talk all the time. Please leave a comment if you've recently taken an EVT or you have EVTs. Let me know how you like the video. Let me know your experience too. As always, y'all, we'll catch y'all on the next one.